Shana Tova, everyone. So great to see you.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
This year, I had a baby. Many of you just met her as she walked down the aisles here. Her name is Noah. And it has been what everyone said that it would be. It's been miraculous. I'm experiencing the world anew, learning it for the first time all over again. Through the eyes of this little creature who's discovering her hands and her feet and how they move together to accomplish tasks and explore the world, who just the other day ate food for the very first time in her life, reminding me of the miracle of bananas and mushed peas all over again, who reaches out to feel my face when I'm talking, studying its movements, amazed by the mere fact of existence. It all reminds me of a midrash, a rabbinic story about Adam, the first human who was just learning the world also. And the rabbis tell us about the moment he witnessed his first sunset. Hitchil hachoshech memashmeshet, the sun began to go down. Light was fading from the sky, and Adam thought the world was ending. Distraught, he and Eve huddled together and cried through the night. When Adam saw the sun rising in the morning, he said, this is the way of the world, minhago shel olamhu. After this scary night, God gives Adam flintstones to strike one against the other and create fire, to light his way in the darkness, knowing now that the sun will come in the morning. Suddenly, Adam's understanding of the world turned from doom and gloom to miraculous awe in the order of things. And it's incredible to me, thinking about this first sunset and watching all of Noah's firsts, all of the moments of her initial fear and trepidation turning to understanding and joy. It's a miracle, and it's an honor to watch it happen. And yet, something has been nagging at me ever since April 3rd, the day she was born. Ever since that day, I myself have felt like Adam watching his first sunset, afraid and uncertain, not trusting in the way of the world. Ever since that day, time has been moving at a cruel pace, like life is happening at warp speed. Ever since that day, the world has felt so much harsher, so much more dangerous than it did 6 months ago. And along with the constant joy that I do feel, I simultaneously have feelings of dread and preemptive despair for every moment of pain and suffering and heartbreak that is to come for her, myself by extension, and knowing that I brought her into the world without her asking for it. And I can't just stay in these blissful moments of joy because time has sped up and it refuses to stop for me. And I know that ahead of us and fast approaching is pain I can't plan for. If I could only be certain of the sunrise. People bring children into the world, or do not bring children into the world, for lots of reasons. Many people want children and have children. Many people want children and struggle to build their families, whether for circumstantial reasons or due to infertility, just like so many of our forefathers and foremothers in the Torah, Abraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, Yaakov and Rachel, Hannah, who we read about today in the Haftorah. A plug here for the Jewish Fertility Foundation, which does incredible work to help people struggling with infertility realize their dreams of parenthood. There are also people who choose not to have children because that's not part of the vision for their life, or because they're grappling with the weight of bringing new life into the world. And for a significant number of people in my generation, they're choosing not to have children because they believe it is selfish to bring them into such a doomed and broken world. Now, here I stand before you, a new mom who is feeling postpartum selfishness for having set Noah on an unstoppable trajectory, just so I can bask in her beautiful light. So what do I do with that? Every year, as the Chagim, as the high holidays approach, rabbis toss and turn and ask themselves, what is the sermon I need to hear right now? And this year, I need hope. I need to believe that this world is good enough for my daughter. So let's take an honest look. This past year has not been a good one for hope. We are still reeling from October 7th and its aftermath, a day of horror and bloodshed that awakened the dormant trauma baked into our Jewish peoplehood in every time and place. We've been sick for our hostages, and we've witnessed devastation of wartime on the region. We say it every year, but the words always come back to haunt us in the aftermath. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. Mi yichye u'mi yamut, who will live and who will die. Mi bekitzo u'mi lo bekitzo, who in their old age and who before their time. Mi v'charev u'mi v'chaya, who by sword and who by wild beast. Mi v'ra'av u'mi b'tzama, who by famine and who by thirst. In the wake of October 7th, our sense of safety and security in the diaspora has been in flux, and we've seen anti-Semitism rear its head more brazenly than it has for a long time. Mi yanuach u'mi yanua, who will have rest and who will wander. Mi shaket u'mi yetoraf, who will be at peace and who will be pursued. Beyond the Jewish world, we continue to see war ravage Ukraine, Myanmar, and Chad, among many others. Our own country feels fractured and hateful. And beyond the sorry state of our politics is a country where our teens are suffering from unprecedented mental health crises, due in large part to social media. Mi shalev u'mi yaser, who will be at rest and who will be tormented. Mi yushpal u'mi yarum, who will be exalted and who will be brought low. And then there's this earth we've been given. In Kohelet Rabbah, a collection of midrash, rabbinic storytelling, God showed the first human, Adam, around the Garden of Eden, saying, all of this I made for you. Take care not to destroy my world, because no one will be here to fix it after you. Today, we face a climate crisis whose immediacy grows ever greater, and our kids around the world are feeling anxiety about their lack of agency and our lack of urgency. Mi v'mayim u'mi v'esh, who by fire and who by water. But what comes after that? What comes after who by fire and water and war and famine? How does Unetane Tokef, this prayer that we are about to say, how does it end? Anyone? We do it every year. Uteshuva, utefila, utedaka, ma'avirin et roa hagzera. But tshuva, repentance, tefillah, prayer, and tzedakah, good deeds and acts of righteousness, can avert the severity of the decree, can soften the jagged edges of the human experience. There is so much over which we have no control, but we can work on being our best selves through tshuva. We can find divinity in every corner of the world through tefillah, and we can reach out and hold one another through tzedakah. We are vulnerable to forces of destruction, but there is agency and power and hope in our response, in our everyday choices. In the face of anti-Semitism, we have choices. We can gather around our own in strength, pride, and love, fortifying and standing with our Jewish family across the world. We can do this in a way that positively binds us together, or we can do this in a way that negatively isolates us from the rest of humanity. The latter can be tempting when we feel we have no allies, when we come to believe that the only people we can really depend upon are our fellow Jews. Then, staying in relationship across difference, across rifts and ruptures like we've experienced this past year, that can feel impossible. But it is an essential task for all of us to build bridges to one another. We can be on the defense and tell the world why they shouldn't hate us. And that is critically important work. But we mustn't forget to also tell the world why we love to be Jewish, to tell stories of Jewish joy. Tell your kids and your grandkids, your siblings, your friends, why they should love to be Jewish, not only why they must defend against Jewish hate. In Herzl's 19th century pamphlet, Der Judenstaat, he claims that anti-Semitism, above all else, is our unifying force as Jews. That's what we have in common. And while I understand how he came to this theory, I do, but I personally reject it. We get to decide if we're defined by people's hatred of us or by our love for and pride in our identity. Each of us carries an Aron Kodesh, an ark around wherever we go. What is inside? What is holy to you about this tradition? What is definitive? Is it Torah, or have we created new idols to worship? Is it love, or have we let hatred invade the Jewish body? Is it hope, or have we succumbed to despair? In the face of division and hatred in our country, we can choose actions and words of love and respect. We can perform our civil duties. We can vote. In the face of mental health crises for our teens, we can invest in and advocate for young people. We can welcome the aspects of social media that connect, empower, and inspire us, while pushing away and limiting the pieces that make us feel small, alone, insufficient, addicted to the external validation of likes and comments. Teen girls in particular are an at-risk demographic, and there is a little bit of hope on the horizon there, where the CDC saw an increase of 60% in teen girls contemplating suicide between 2011 and 2021. The numbers in a recent 2024 study are showing that there is finally a decline since record highs during the pandemic. Progress is being made, slowly but surely. Instagram, as of this September, has started Instagram teen accounts for all kids between 13 and 17, adding protections to what our young people see and receive with an anti-bullying feature called Hidden Words that filters out offensive and cruel language. These accounts also send notifications to leave the application after 60 minutes of usage each day, and there is an automatic sleep mode that turns on at night. Progress. In the face of a changing earth, a changing climate, we can recycle, we can compost, we can reduce our use of plastics, we can do little things every day to remember that we are creatures of nature, part of and not separate from it, our fates entirely enmeshed. We can and we must choose hope a million little times in the face of a daunting darkness. But as a new mother, I need more. I need more than the power of our response. I need more than flintstones and fire to light my way in the dark. I need the sunrise. I need to believe that the world is good enough. During Musaf today, we will blow the shofar, and then we will say the words, Hayom Harat Olam. Today, the world was born. What are the origins of this line we say every year? I had never questioned it before, but the language of birth is now suddenly very apparent to me. And this year, I came across the reflections of Brooklyn-based Rabbi Mark Katz from 2018, the reflections of a then new father. Rosh Hashanah is the birthday of the world, but the line, Hayom Harat Olam, today the world was born, doesn't come from our creation story. It comes from the prophet Jeremiah, a tortured prophet who spent his days feeling fruitless and lonely. People weren't listening to him, to his words of caution and warning. And in one of his many moments of exasperation, he regrets the day he was born, wishing God had let his mother's womb be his whole world. Vatehili imi kivri verachma harat olam. Would that my mother be my grave, her womb, harat olam, eternally pregnant. That's what harat olam means here, eternally pregnant. Jeremiah is not wishing for death. He is wishing to always exist in that sacred time before birth when anything is possible. Our high holiday liturgists took Jeremiah's words and they flipped them on their head. Harat olam, eternally pregnant, became harat olam, the world was born. That moment of safety and infinite possibility transformed into the moment of this big, messy, beautiful world being unfurled. Rabbi Katz holds that we all carry a piece of Jeremiah within ourselves. A piece of us often wants to remain eternally in the womb. We know that the dreams of the future will always be more vast than the future itself, he says. While it is warm and safe, infinite possibility is a paralyzing place to live. Rabbi Katz holds up an example of someone who left the safe place and carved out a unique path. Our forefather Abraham, a man who made choices in his life that often led to tremendous hardship and suffering. But he writes, amidst the stories of trouble, we have tales of faith. Among the discord, we find acts of love. Between the lines of sorrow, we have births and sacrifices, growth and joy. Because Abraham did not live with eternal possibility, because he blazed a path, we know his story. Living, moving forward, necessitates some of the deepest courage we can muster. But if we do, what an amazing ride we are in store for. I have channeled Jeremiah in wanting to keep Noah safe in the womb forever. Harat Olam, eternally pregnant. And I think I'll always feel that to some extent. But the Hebrew language mirrors the human experience. It is duplicitous. It asks us to hold multiple truths at once. It asks me to hold Noah close in that place of infinite possibility and to help her grow and watch and wonder as Harat Olam, the world is born, the place where she will blaze her own unique path. And so, to answer the question, is the world good enough for you, Noah? The answer is both an indignant no and a hopeful yes. The world is always ending, and the sun will always rise in the morning. Minhago shel olamhu. That is the way of the world, my girl. But you are our embodiment of hope. And when the sun comes up each new morning, Rabbi Josh and I wake you up with Moda Ani, our prayer of gratitude, and then you are my sunshine. We can't wait around for hope to come. We have to incubate it. We have to give birth to it. We have to hold it in our arms and nurture it. As the great poet Emily Dickinson writes, hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Shana Tova.